Welcome to the Grand Theft World podcast, hosted and sponsored by GrandTheftWorld.com. I know I'm dressed up. It's a special occasion. We'll talk about that later. Tonight on the episode, we're in episode 84. It is June 10th, 2022 already. You're going to start hearing soon that the war in Ukraine is not going to continue probably at the level it was. So it might be ending early with not the people they wanted to winning it. They're blaming each other on whose fault it is already.
Guess what? Ukraine war is over. They're just not telling you. But I'll tell you something. They're already blaming each other, right? So they're already pointing fingers. U.S. lacks a clear picture of Ukraine's war strategy, officials say. Intelligence agencies know far more about Russia's military, even as the United States ships billions of dollars in weapons to the Ukrainians. If Russia advances further, the failure to understand the state of the Ukrainian military could open the intelligence community to accusations that it failed to deliver a full picture of Ukraine's prospects in the war. It was another 9/11 was an intelligence failure. The WMDs, we were an intelligence failure. We were overconfident. Libya was an intelligence failure. Syria is an intelligence. Who knew? Afghanistan, if you read the Afghanistan papers, it was a 20-year long intelligence failure.
We're also going to talk about the concept that's expressed in the title thumbnail of this episode, which is a sad state of affairs. It's hard to say because S.A.D.S is plural. It's plural because it means sudden adult death syndrome, something they just came around in the past few years. I'm sure it doesn't have any connection to things that have gone on in the past few years.
Doctors baffled by increase in sudden adult death syndrome. Are they that stupid?
I don't think that they're stupid. I think that they think we are stupid. And I mean, they're kind of right. Sudden adult death syndrome, really? We just have suddenly all of these extra deaths. And we have no idea why, but we do know that it's not the vaccine. That's the one thing that they can tell you for sure. There are too many powerful institutions and stakeholders involved here that all have huge interests in us not knowing what the side effects are of this vaccine. And even apart from the government and big pharma, just ordinary people, think about how many people have taken this vaccine and how hard it must be mentally to grasp the idea that you might have taken something that is bad for you and that could cause you all sorts of health problems in the future. And not just you, also your children. So the cognitive dissonance there is huge.
Also going back tonight to some X-Files episode where they talked about DNA editing and other sorts of things that also don't have anything to do with what happened over the past 2 years.
Tad O'Malley has been making claims.
Claims about what?
You and everyone you know has a piece of DNA in your genome, put there without your knowing it.
Put there by whom?
Well, that's the question of the day.
This is an internet lunatic. You're not saying you believe him.
Hold on, Agent Einstein. You're talking to a scientist.
Forgive me, Assistant Director. It may sound insensitive, but the suggestion is pure science fiction.
What I'm saying, Agent Einstein, is that the facts, as I understand them, cannot be discounted out of hand.
No one has the right or the ability to tamper with your DNA.
I was wrong about what's causing it. Dead wrong, in fact.
But it's clearly a widespread failure of our immune systems.
Through gene tampering. A virus within a virus that was put there through the smallpox vaccine. It's what these men are calling the Spartan virus.
Through gene editing.
Why do such a thing and lie about it? Our own government.
Your own government lies as a matter of course, as a matter of policy. The Tuskegee experiments on black men in the 30s, Henrietta Lacks.
What are they trying to do?
That's the missing piece.
But it's not hard to imagine a government hiding, hoarding technology for 70 years at the expense of human life and the future of the planet. Driven not only by corporate greed, but a darker objective.
The takeover of America.
And then the world itself, by any means necessary, however violent or cruel or efficient. By severe drought, brought on by weather wars, conducted secretly using aerial contaminants and high-altitude electromagnetic waves, in a state of perpetual war, to create problem, reaction, solution scenarios to distract, enrage, and enslave American citizens at home, with tools like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act, which abridge the Constitution in the name of national security. the militarization of police forces in cities across the U.S., the building of prison camps by the Federal Emergency Management Agency with no stated purpose, the corporate takeover of food and agriculture, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, even the military in clandestine agendas to fatten, dull, sicken, and control a populace already consumed by consumerism.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
A government that taps your phone, collects your data, and monitors your whereabouts with impunity. A government preparing to use that data against you when it strikes. And the final takeover begins.
The takeover of America.
By a well-oiled and well-armed multinational group of elites that will cull, kill, and subjugate.
Now, you might have noticed gas prices and diesel prices and all sorts of other prices going up. And you want to know what the problem is? Well, the answer is it's the economy, stupid. And if you've spent any time during the past week seeing like mainstream media, they're making excuses. They're telling you that the depression that's coming up is a good thing. All these sorts of things that are going on in our society.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, etc., are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Well, the number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon saying he thinks we're at the peak of the crisis right now and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
Ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
Everything's working fine. Nothing to see here. Please move along and get to your trays of mold and insects, and that'll be your food in the future. Don't worry about it. Also tonight, where is that client list of Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, we just endured like 7 weeks of Johnny Depp trial and all that misdirection that's going on in the public. And yet we can't get any information on who Ghislaine Maxwell's clients were, who Epstein's clients were, who they still are, because only Jean-Luc Brunel and a couple other people didn't hang themselves or shoot themselves. So there's still a lot of them that are alive. And Kim Iverson, I think, asked the question the past week, where is that client list?
Well, Elon Musk took to Twitter and asked the question many of us have been asking. How is it we still don't know who was on Jeffrey Epstein's client list? Here's his tweet. Only thing more remarkable than the DOJ not leaking the list is that no one in the media cares. Doesn't that seem odd? Well, I care, Elon, and it is odd. There are many leaks that happen each year, so why not this one? In fact, in 2017, Jeff Sessions revealed that the DOJ had 27 open leak investigations of classified information. We read about leaks happening fairly often, and it's usually information of public interest, like when James Comey leaked his notes from his meetings with Trump, or the recent SCOTUS leak regarding Roe v. Wade. Well, the public is pretty interested in Epstein's list, so why hasn't someone leaked it? Well, the DOJ might say there's just no such list of names to leak. They might claim Epstein didn't keep a detailed list and that figuring out who were his clients was a matter of piecing together bits of information from victim testimony, eyewitnesses, flight logs, and photographs. Unlike Heidi Fleiss, Epstein wasn't in the business of collecting money, so there's no need for him to keep a little black book or, in Fleiss's case, a 28-page red Gucci planner. But is that true? Maybe he wasn't collecting money, but perhaps he was collecting something like blackmail. And if he was collecting blackmail, like his victims claim and like many of us suspect, wouldn't the blackmail have been found by police or investigators? And if it was found, wouldn't there be a list of names from that found blackmail? And what about Ghislaine Maxwell? She was found guilty of several counts of sex trafficking and is scheduled to be sentenced later this month. You can't sex traffic without having people to sex traffic too. So certainly the DOJ has those names. So if the names exist, there's a list, or at least a file. And if a list or a file exists, why out of all of the leaks we hear about each year, hasn't this one leaked? Either the list doesn't exist, is being held by investigators and they're somehow able to keep a tight lid on some of the most sought after information of this decade, or something else happened. Now, podcaster Adam Davidson gives a little insight into maybe why we aren't hearing more names drop. In a Twitter thread, he writes, I spent 2 years working on the Jeffrey Epstein podcast, Broken. I became close with many of his victims and learned a lot of stuff that for annoying legal reasons we can't publish. He goes on to say, I knew that rich and powerful men can get away with a lot. I didn't realize just how much they can get away with and just how much the entire system, courts, journalism, prosecutor, works inadvertently and deliberately to reinforce their impunity. I think we all know that, say, Bill Gates and Clinton probably were up to no good. At the very best, they knowingly spent time and casted their halo on a man they knew was a serial rapist of children, though hard to believe it ended there. Yet they're given heroic treatment every week in the media, paying no price. Jeffrey Epstein is not some outlier, some freak who is now dead and best forgotten. He represents something essential in all of our systems of authority, law, courts, higher education, nonprofits, media, etc., that is there right now today. When I think of the unbelievably brave women like Virginia, like VRS Virginia, Pink Pepto-Bismol, and so many others who were dismissed, slut-shamed, etc., while cowards and evildoers were lauded, I feel like something deep is broken in the world we live in. I say all of this a few weeks before Ghislaine Maxwell is sentenced, and the world will likely put aside the Epstein story forever. Some weird set of crimes that two awful people committed. The bad guys won. They pulled it off. They raped children or sat by and watched others do so. They used their elite connections and access to power. The weird thing is, we all know what they did, and we don't seem to care. Oh, people maybe care. They just don't want to be ruined. In fact, Adam acknowledges his own risk in reply messages to others saying, there is a real likelihood that my life will be ruined. I could write a lot of stuff about a lot of people without worrying, but not these guys. So maybe there is a list to leak, and maybe someone inside the DOJ has tried to leak it. But maybe it's news organizations who won't publish it. With the amount of public interest in this case, and yet we still can't get any more names than the ones revealed by mostly Virginia Giuffre, this once again reiterates that in the entire Epstein saga, there seems to be a showcase of the powerful protecting the powerful.
We've got the Queen's Jubilee over there in England. They've got Queen Elizabeth. She celebrated, I think, her 75th year on the throne. And it's a big deal because her face is on the money of like 40 plus countries that all have votes in the United Nations. So God save the Queen. We'll learn a little bit more about that transatlantic relationship, maybe the Anglo-American establishment, maybe the stack of books here. Well, I don't know.
And today, a triumphant finale to Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee celebration. Today was the final day of what has been a 4-day celebration marking 70 years of Queen Elizabeth's reign. The appearance followed a huge parade through London in the Queen's honor that included the Queen's golden carriage.
She's once again made history after a spectacular 70 years as Queen.
I always keep one for emergencies.
So do I. I keep mine in here. For later.
What do I think of the Jubilee? What do you think of the Jubilee? A party around nation, community and togetherness, or another way to substantiate and underwrite existing power? And I noticed one of the royal family was nowhere to be seen. Andrew, where are you?
The World Economic Forum has some ideas for your children, and those ideas are going to be taken care of not in your house, not in a school, but in the metaverse. They're going to want your kids in the metaverse sometime soon. And we'll see what Klaus Schwab and his coterie and cabal has in plan for your children.
Thank God for the metaverse. You know, the one thing that could make the metaverse even better? Getting Davos involved and getting Davos to get your children pushed into that metaverse to learn about climate change. This story is, of course, about the WEF's intentions to use the metaverse to educate I've got children too, children about climate change. Disconnecting children from the physical world and plugging them into a virtual one is the way to go when it comes to the future of education, according to the World Economic Forum. Any of you that have got kids, particularly those of you that have like teenage boys, I would suggest, know that probably your number one problem is getting them little bastards off of the PlayStation or wherever it is they're into. Don't push them deeper into it. This is one of the opinions to have come out of this year's gathering in Davos. It's just a gathering. We're just gathering together to come up with ideas to bypass democracy and control your consciousness. With a post on WEF's website arguing that this direction is necessary, among other things, to combat climate change. One thing I dislike about this globalist movement is the capitulation to the myth of progress. I understand that there has been progress in technology and medicine and all sorts of fields of ideology and philosophy, but the notion that what we have to do is submit to technology and AI and give up manufacturing jobs and our connection to the land and the connection to one another. I've had conversations with people that are affiliated with the WEF and they said, like, AI, it's inevitable. All these jobs will be gone soon. You best learn how to code. You best learn how to do this. And I said, you don't have to do that. You can actually do what you want if you have enough people resisting the march of globalism. Other reasons would be better quality, accessibility and affordability of education. Again, what's always presented as expedience and convenience to us often is an advantage to already powerful interests. I don't know specifically yet why I don't want my kid plugged into a metaverse, but I do know that I don't want that. I already worry that my kid's looking at a bloody phone too much or crunching on some dumb sugary food or not spending enough time outside. I've got enough guilt that I'm not being a good enough parent without thinking that the solution is to hand their precious young minds over to Klaus Schwab so he can slobber all over them in a metaverse. It was only cyber slobber. VR and metaverse combined will be where students and teachers will be immersed in communication and sharing, overcoming space and time limitations. They're like used car salesmen for this metaverse, aren't they? Well, listen, we've got to do something about climate change now. That's the industry's fault. Well, come on, what about your addiction to pencils? I'm not really addicted to pencils, to be honest. I'll take them or leave them, I'm not bothered about. Okay then, pandemic, there could be another pandemic. Look, I'm really not bothered. Surely, though, you've always wanted to overcome space and time. I'm not Doctor Strange. I accept the conditions of our universe. There's space and there's time, which apparently are infinite. I am finite. I'm going to deal with it. Wouldn't it be better if we had fairer systems, a bit of democracy, a bit of justice? How about using your technological advantages for that? The WEF appears to want to get involved in the creation and through governance and regulation, ultimately control of the metaverse in the early stages of its development. The post cites statements from stakeholders such as Clegg on behalf of Meta and top execs from Microsoft, HTC, Sony Interactive, as well as Walmart, CJ Corporation, the Lego Group, Animoca Brands, and others.
And to kick it off tonight, we're going to go to Luke Rudowski of wearechange.org, bestpoliticalshirts.com, and lukeuncensored.com. Let's go to Luke Rudowski for tonight's kickoff, and then we will be right back.
I'm Brooke Alvarez. Let's get right to our top story tonight. Congress today reauthorized funding for Facebook, the massive online surveillance program run by the CIA. According to Department of Homeland Security reports, Facebook has replaced almost every other CIA information gathering program since it was launched in 2004.
After years of secretly monitoring the public, we were astounded so many people would willingly publicize where they live, their religious and political views, an alphabetized list of all their friends' personal email addresses, phone numbers, hundreds of photos of themselves, and even status updates about what they were doing moment to moment. It is truly a dream come true for the CIA.
Much of the credit belongs to CIA agent Mark Zuckerberg, who runs the day-to-day Facebook operations for the agency. The decorated agent, codenamed the Overlord, was recently awarded the prestigious Medal of Intelligence Commendation for his work with the Facebook program, which he has called, quote, the single most powerful tool for population control ever created.
I mean, where's the lie? And one company's name I want to bring up in QTEL. That's it.
What makes autonomy uniquely empowering? Autonomy is a self-help course unlike any other. Over the course of our 12-week program, you'll experience weekly live lectures from Richard Grove, specifically designed to equip you with the skills you need to set yourself free. Free from the learned helplessness taught in our schools, free from the dependence on a corrupt system that serves only to uphold the rich, free from the structure of your 9-to-5 if that's your prerogative. Plus, you'll enter into a community of like-minded individuals who are pursuing the same freedom you are, and who'll support you and learn alongside you every step of the way. A lifetime of community and the tools to live however you want. We can't wait to meet you. Learn more at getautonomy.info.